Now let's talk about the difference between photosynthesis and respiration. First, let's begin by making a chart. Photosynthesis, and right here, respiration. Alright. So, first thing to discuss is ATP. Do they produce ATP? We figured that photosynthesis actually does. So, yes. And same goes for respiration. Yes. Though there are about 36. Now, what's the next one to discuss? Next one will be the requirement of sunlight. Photosynthesis, yes, it can only occur with a start through the first stage in sunlight. It must. For respiration, it doesn't really need sunlight, but because it's always there, it occurs at all times. So, yes. Now, what are the reactants for photosynthesis? And they are 6CO2 and 12H2O. For respiration, the reactants are C6H12O6 plus 6O2. Now, if you look at this closely, it's basically the equation of sugars. So what conclusion we can draw from here is that respiration and photosynthesis are simply reverses of each other. Now, what's the process of photosynthesis? Process of photosynthesis is the production of organic carbon, glucose and starch from inorganic carbon, carbon dioxide, with the use of ATP and NADPH, produced in a light-dependent reaction. For respiration, the process is the production of ATP from the oxidation of organic sugar compounds. Now, as you can see from here, inorganic becomes these organic compounds, in this case, glucose. So, now what is the use of oxygen and carbon dioxide? In photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is absorbed and oxygen is released. In respiration, oxygen is absorbed and CO2 is released. Now, let's go on to the next part. Let's extend this a little bit. What's the main function of each one? The main function of photosynthesis is to produce food and capture energy. Capture energy. The main purpose of respiration is simply to break down food and release energy to use throughout the body functions. Use energy. So, let's next discuss what the stages are in each section. The stages for photosynthesis include light-dependent and light-independent reactions, the light cycle, and the Calvin cycle. For cellular respiration is glycolysis. I'll just put glycolo, Krebs, and ETC, electron transport chain. Now, as we discussed before, these reactions are all reverses of each other. So, what would the product be of photosynthesis? It will simply be C6H12O6 plus 6O2. And the products of cellular respiration is simply 6CO2 and H2O. Now, let's keep extending this bar. Now, what's also important to know is what the final electron receptor is. The final for electron receptor for photosynthesis is NADP. The final for the cellular respiration is O2 gas in the creation of H2O, and here is creation of NADPH. So, we know that photosynthesis occurs in plants and cellular respiration occurs mostly in animals and living organisms, but it also occurs in plants as well. So now let's see, where do these processes get energy? This is the last topic we're going to cover. Where do they get energy? Photosynthesis gets energy from light. in photon packets. And the energy that's gained through cellular respiration is the breaking of bonds. So now let's review what we've learned so far. So, first we discussed was ATP created? In both photosynthesis and respiration, yes, they do occur. And light required? Yes, they both do, but in photosynthesis, it's a must. Now, what are the reactants for photosynthesis? There are 6CO2 and 12H2O. For respiration, C6H12O6 plus 6O2. Then we further explain how 6CO2 is an inorganic material that is used in photosynthesis to create organic material, C6H12O6, and the exact opposite for respiration. Photosynthesis captures energy, cellular respiration uses the energy. Cellular respiration has two steps, the light cycle and the Calvin cycle. The three steps of cellular respiration is glycolysis, Krebs, and electron transport chain. The final electron acceptors are the NADP to create NADPH in photosynthesis, and O2 and H2O in O2 to H2O through the addition of a hydrogen and electrons for cellular respiration. And finally, the ultimate way they both get energy is light for photosynthesis and the breaking of bonds in cellular respiration. So we can conclude that because these are all opposites, photosynthesis and respiration are simply reverse reactions of each other, and the reverse products and reverse reactants.